Well, it is 11 a.m. Central Time where I'm sitting. I hope everyone is having a phenomenal Thursday. And we are just so excited to be hosting Devin Grayson-Shirk today. Devin and I met probably a year ago now. And ever since then, we've worked really hard on what we're doing, our advocacy, our networking. Devin sits here in Chicago with us. So it is an absolute honor to host them on their 1 year anniversary of Trans Rally. I don't want to miss the moment to congratulate you for making it 1 year. But I'm not going to talk too much because what we're in for is an incredible conversation hosted by Devin about Trans Rally and everything that falls under that umbrella. So I'm going to toss it over to you, the founder of Trans Rally, Devin Grayson-Shirk. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much, Elisa. And yeah, 1 year, it's been a long time. It's been a short time. A lot of stuff has happened. A lot of stuff hasn't happened. But I just wanted to say thank you for joining. Thank you for watching and listening. I really appreciate your time. And it is a sacrifice. So I just wanted to say thank you so much. So I started Trans Rally. I'm non-binary myself. My pronouns are they, them. Started Trans Rally technically on the 18th of May last year, but we launched officially on June 15th last year. Basically, what we'll be talking about today is the need for societal change, the need that everything that we need to do needs to be evidence-based, and the importance of sacrifice. So to start, with Trans Rally, I started technically, I got a degree in social work, a bachelor's degree. I went to the University of Missouri and realized that that field is not necessarily the best field to work in due to being pretty exploitative. And I'm sure if you know any social workers, they work really long hours for low pay. And there's basically two paths in that field. One is psychology, using your MSW, your Master's of Social Work as a psychologist. The other is, that community organizing, casework, which is what I would have done. And it's essentially, at least in Missouri, it's about 35, 40,000 a year for about 60 hours, weeks, where you're on call all the time. So decided, I personally am interested in personal finance, and I'm a huge personal finance nerd. So I was able to transition into financial services in the bottom of the totem pole at Merrill Edge. So I was, on working as a call center employee, helping people with their accounts, transitioned into sales at another company at M1 Finance, based out of Chicago. A great platform, great company, and actually liked the platform, so I was able to sell it easily. And then transitioned into brokerage operations, which is basically working on the pipeline on the back end, making sure money gets where it needs to go. And only in the last year and a half or so, maybe 2 years, have I discovered that I actually am trans. So, looking back, there's a lot of different things that I'm realizing that make a lot of sense now with this new identity that I have, that I guess has existed forever. But basically, in my short career in social work and in personal finance, I realized that most of the issues that exist in society on an individual level stem from lack of resources. And this goes for most marginalized communities in my mind, whether those be community resources or fiscal or, privileges as well. So there is a need specifically. But in starting Trans Rally, it actually started with just reading a comment on the internet, actually one night, where, so I'm also plugged into politics as well. And that comment read, in 2025, after a president is elected, and this was after January 6th happened, if a president is elected and they are a Democrat, let's just say, and things don't change politically, then it is likely that there will be efforts to not let that president take power, either legally or extra legally, like we saw on January 6th. On that day, what will you do? And, I realized that I am working in a brokerage operations position, helping make sure that money gets where it needs to go. And although I do have an impact in touching, hundreds of millions of dollars of people's money and making sure that it gets where it needs to go, I couldn't answer what I would do on that day. And I'm like, okay, well, we got 2.5 years or so until then. And then I sat on it. And then last year, the Supreme Court decision of Dobbs happened, essentially almost overturning Roe v. Wade. And I was like, okay, dang, I need to actually literally do something. And so came up with the idea of Trans Rally part-time. I'm like, okay, I'll try to do it. And I didn't really take any action. But I'm like, things are happening right now, not 2 years from now. And the third thing that caused me to quit my job in May of last year and focus on this full-time was coming across someone named Devin. So my name's Devin, as my birth name, and I'm happy it's androgynous, so I don't have to change it, which is great. I'm not Bob or anything. But someone was named Devin, lived in southern Georgia in a town called Moultrie, Georgia. And this person is born male, is transitioning into male to female, so they're trans. Their pronouns are they, them, and she, her. And it turns out that they passed away 1 or 2 years ago. And to put a pin in it, my wife, a large portion of her family is from that small town of Moultrie, Georgia. So this random person who shares my name, shares me, being born male, assigned male at birth. And this person, their Facebook profile is public. So they weren't very smart with regards to keeping things secure and private. And people were sharing obituaries of this person. And the obituary essentially was erasing their transgender identity and referring to her as he, him, son, brother. And so in death, 2 years prior, this person's identity is erased. And so, I just felt a calling. The world is screaming at me to do something. And so I decided to make a plan and sacrifice and start Trans Rally, focusing on it full time. I've since gotten another full-time job in December of last year. So I work in compliance now. I'm basically Toby from The Office, if you've seen that show, saying you can't do that to financial advisors. And I'm also the person who makes sure that the disclosures, the tiny little text in the documents are there too. But essentially my vision for Trans Rally is an alternative, a safe space, a safe community that will uplift its members. It's free to join for individuals, and it's open to anyone who's a member of the trans community or an ally or a friend of the trans community. You also have to agree with a statement of beliefs, which should not be political, but they are. It's essentially just saying things like trans rights are human rights, Black Lives Matter, and you should be able to do what you will with your own body and love who you want to love. But one of the things that is not touched on as much, but which I think is one of the most important things, is a commitment to evidence-based actions. One of the reasons I like Ensure Equality so much is what they do with Phoenix, their system, measuring culture and inclusivity among insurance agencies. They are evidence-based, and they try to collect hard data to measure the inclusivity of insurance agencies. And I think it's a valuable service. And I think that more organizations should be building things like this. But I think also as well, too many people expend energy into things that are not productive. For example, trying to shame people who have no shame. Whereas I think that a lot of energy can be spent lifting up and putting things towards positive things and putting energy and money and time and talent towards positive things. So just personal sacrifice for Trans Rally and my effort. I quit my job in May of last year, got into a lot of debt. It's scary, I'm not gonna lie, but it's worth it because we've helped people get good jobs. That's our goal in the short term, is to connect people to good paying jobs and to help build a community where people can refer each other for good paying jobs, so that we can build up an economic base to try to address that financial need of our community generally, but specifically the trans community, because we're very underemployed. But I guess taking a bird's eye view and discussing the needs of the trans community, there have been recent legislation passed, and I'm sure you've heard all about it in a lot of different states. And also, this is all very, very, very political. It shouldn't be, because it's human rights, but it is. So it's a political discussion as well. There's been a lot of bills trying to ban hormone replacement therapy and gender care for minors. There's been, the bathroom laws that have existed, I want to say since like 2014, 15, 16. And there was some pushback whenever they were first introduced, and a lot of those have been rolled back, but they're coming back. And also, state introduction of definitions for gender identity being based on sex, and discrimination against that too. So just for example, in Florida, it is illegal for me to go into a bathroom of a public institution. So state funded, it could be a library, it could be a school, it could be a government facility. It's illegal for me to go into a bathroom that is not male, because I was born male, even if I'm 14 months on hormones, even if I change my presentation to be feminine, or if I was a trans woman, if I'm a woman, I'm forced to do that. In addition, these laws are getting worse and worse too, because in Florida recently, they also introduced the ability for the state to consider a child's transgender status in custody laws for divorce proceedings. So they're trying to take away children from their parents if their parents provide them life-saving health care. There's also mental health support that's needed. There's also social acceptance that's needed, and economic opportunities, and transphobia, and inclusivity, employment, education, housing. And everything is tied together, and everything is overlapping. It's interesting. That's one of the reasons why our logo of Trans Rally is a Venn diagram, because everybody has a different identity, and every identity affects somebody's reality. And we should respect and value those different identities, because they color our experiences in different ways. And that's honestly, to me, diversity and inclusion is respecting differences, understanding that we can learn from other people's experiences. And it's kind of a superpower, because you're able to make better decisions because you have more points of data too. But also, like I said, there's a lot of issues, but what I would like to talk about the most is making substantive contributions to society. It's kind of like starting a small business. And I'm sure if you are a business owner, you know that it takes so much time and effort and money to do anything, because anything worth doing in life requires sacrifice. It requires significant investment of some sort. And, in the past and today, people who are protesting against laws that are being introduced are sacrificing their safety. They're sacrificing their time. They're sacrificing their money. If they have friends who are transphobic, they're sacrificing opportunities to maintain friendships sometimes. And it shouldn't be that way, but that's just the way it is currently. But the importance of evidence-based action it can't be understated, I'd say. And the issue is I don't have all the answers as well. It's going to take work to learn what to do and what's effective. And you can't necessarily listen to people like me, because we don't know all the answers, because we haven't walked all the walks, I guess. But it's important to create evidence-based materials to educate yourself, foster a culture of inclusivity, encourage open dialogue, but based on research and data. You can't create policies without conversing with people who have experienced different life experiences, which is diversity and inclusion. There's also different trans advocacy organizations as well that are great to support, like Trans Lifeline, the Trevor Project, the Human Rights Campaign, but there's also a lot of organizations like Trans Rally that are popping up as well. And before you give your time, talent, and treasure, just try to determine whether it is a good use of your attention, essentially, because there's a lot of people who I think have the best intentions, but may not have the capacity to be able to actually promote change. But small businesses specifically as well, they have kind of a power to promote inclusivity too. So there's not the entrenched bureaucracy, and you're able to make these decisions on a nimble basis because you need to as a small business. For example, it's going to be much more difficult for IBM to change its culture because there's a storied history of 100+ years of the way they've done business and the structures that have been built. Whereas with small businesses, especially if you're successful, but if you're just starting as well, you can build these things into your business model. And I highly encourage you to do that because most people are employed by small businesses in this country still. And you kind of have the power and a superpower to be able to take that and to create those environments to actually affect change on an individual level. But other than that as well, meaningful contributions are needed. So I mentioned the time, talent, and treasure. It'll take more than protesting because, for example, there is a Montana state legislator named Zoe Zephyr, and she's a trans woman, and she's an elected representative. And she was silenced by the state legislature because she spoke out of turn, so to speak, about talking about banning gender affirming care for minors. And now she's kind of just silenced and can't speak on anything. So like the oppressive side of society that holds the power is not afraid to use that power to further their goals. So the situation's a lot more serious than I think a lot of people understand. So to contribute, it will take meaningful contribution and sacrifice. So for example, if you have money, if you're a rich person or you're well off, it's not required, but you should give because there's a lot of people who don't have, assets, for example. Or if you have a talent that you've honed over 25 years, why should why should there be huge difficulty to share that talent with organizations on a voluntary basis, like volunteering for a board or something like that? Or if you're just starting off, sometimes there's grunt work that needs done, like you need to actually be on the ground. You need to be talking with people. Like, for example, I'm in Chicago. There's Midsummerfest, which is a festival in historically lesbian town called Andersonville within Chicago. And I was, sitting with the Chicago LGBT Hall of Fame. And I was like a carnival barker, basically being like, hey, do you support trans rights? Do you support, sign up for this, hear more about us? Because I was advertising Trans Rally. And it took a lot of time and I got sunburned. And that's just the way things are, because if you just sit at home, that nothing's gonna happen. And it's the same thing for a small business too. You need to do the work. You need to make the calls. You need to do what you have to do. So that's kind of how it is. It's like nurturing a business. You have to create an inclusive society. It's an ongoing process that requires consistency and effort. And we also have to sustain that effort too in a sustainable way. So we have to continually learn and adapt to situations that exist. We have to stay informed based on evidence of organizations that do good things, and we can learn from those things. But also the biggest thing is just the persistence. Tenacious D, so Jack Black, said that the most important thing is to stay and try to survive, and you'll find success that way. He mentioned the fact that in the 80s and 90s, whenever he was just starting, he was small, but he continued doing his thing, and now he's big. He played Bowser in the Super Mario Brothers movie, and he's a cool person. But so it's an ongoing process, and things won't happen overnight, but it's the work that needs to be done. So just to recap as well, importance of evidence-based decisions, you have to do things that matter, I guess. And to do that, you have to study and put in the work to find the things that matter. Not that one individual's actions don't matter, but there are things that you can do that will actually make a bigger difference than other things. And really, we have 233 members of Trans Rally all over the country. About 50 or 60 of those are in Chicago, because that's where I am. And I'm super, appreciative of the people who I've worked with and Elisa for hosting me here, and for our sponsor members and for our individual members who are not sponsors, just helping each other out. That's the most important thing. You can, if you're curious, go to transrally.org. You can read up on us. I believe my contact information is there too, and it'll be shared after this as well. Feel free, give me an email, Devin, DEVIN, at transrally.org, or my business phone number is 253-693-0000. We have, like I said, it's free to join for individuals, so you can do that just to be connected with people. And if there's anyone who needs any help in our community, if you have a referral for a job, if you have resume advice or interview advice or something like that, that's kind of what we need. And it's basically like farming. That's an interesting way to think about it, but it's a way in sales that I learned, where you plant seeds of community and hopefully good things can grow from it.
Hey,
So
Devin.
what we're trying to do, sure.
I love what you're talking about and the sacrifice. And I also know that everybody that is listening to you, either right now or in the future, is going to want to know more about Trans Rally. And they can absolutely go to the website. But I'd
Yeah,
love if you could brag about yourself a little bit and talk about some of the amazing things that Trans Rally has done in just 1 year.
yes, absolutely. So we've connected, I want to say 4, 5, 6 people to good paying jobs. We've built up a resume list or an email list for sharing of resumes for our members to be able to hopefully scale the job search process. So we have about 60 hiring managers who are committed to diversity, reviewing resumes, and if they have any connections who need, who have open jobs and it's a good fit, it's a great way to do that. So there's an email list you can sign up for. It's transrally.org /hire, or if you go to just the transrally.org website, on the menu, there's a hire button, and it goes to our email list as well for hiring managers. But yeah, so we've done that. I would say that we've helped, I want to say, like I said, 4, 5, 6 people. We're trying to build essentially a sustainable organization that's profitable. So it's almost like it's like a voluntary Costco. That's the business model essentially, in that people are able to join for free. And if we help them, then there's kind of a call to action saying, hey, pay it forward if you can. And what we'll be doing is reinvesting that money into the organization so that we're able to provide better services for people. Additionally, for organizations, there are organizational sponsorships too, where you can join at a very affordable price. And our goal is to develop tools and systems for organizations to use that are worth, the subscription. So it's $15 a month for small businesses. And we provide a QR code platform where you're able to change, and use it in your marketing. So it could be like restaurant menus, or it could be for direct mail. You can track, the effectiveness of those programs. In the future as well, we'll be creating a ability to recruit from our member base with no referral commission, because it helps both our organizational members and our individual members to charge nothing for this service, because it helps people get good jobs, and it also helps save money with regards to recruiting. So you can recruit diverse, qualified candidates for free as a member, as just an example. In the future too, as we grow and as we gain that financial capacity to do things, we'll be launching, for example, a marketplace for our members to be able to advertise and sell their goods and services for a fee that's like 1% commission versus Etsy's 5 or 6% commission. Or more recently, if they advertise your products, 25% commission. So what we're trying to do is to provide a list of services kind of similar to Costco at no cost. And we're essentially, what we're doing is we're trying to make the membership as valuable as we can, because we think that this is the way to affect change. Because, for example, Costco has been super successful, and their organizational goals are in line with members to basically improve their lives as well. So they have a pharmacy, they have a gas station, they have a car buying program, insurance, they have all this stuff essentially to try to make it valuable for someone to join. So that's what we've done so far. We're still not profitable yet, but trying as hard as I can, like I said, with all the efforts that I've done with
You
this
got to
as well.
start somewhere, right?
Exactly.
I want to open it up for questions too, because you've shared a lot, and we've gone a lot of places. So I want to make sure to check in with
Absolutely.
the people that are with us right now and see if anybody has any questions for Devin about Trans
Please.
Rally or trans rights or any of that. All right, well, feel free to drop something in the chat or pipe up if something comes up. And Devin, I know you've talked about how people can get a hold of you, but before we leave today, whenever that is, I would love if we can get an action item for allies and for trans folks, because I know that you have two different paths within your website as well.
Yes, that's right. So honestly, it's a situation where, I could say I'd love for you to join as a sponsor member. I'd love for you to join as an organizational member, and it would be super helpful for us, and it would be. But honestly, the reason why I created Trans Rally is because I looked around and I did not really see any individual organization that's trying to do this work in a way that I think will be able to impact society in the way I think it needs to be impacted. So if you believe in in the mission, and you believe in my goals, and you believe in me as a leader, please join. We really appreciate it. That's an action item for you. But additionally, if you think that your efforts and talents can be better used outside of Trans Rally, my action item for you is to find a local organization and literally take stock of your talents, skills, whether you have a lot of money, whatever, and try to find that local organization and try to work with them. Try to make a sacrifice for the greater good, because that's what we need. I would say I can make a LinkedIn post and I can get 25,000 impressions on that LinkedIn post, and 200 likes and 200 shares or whatever. But at the end of the day, that that exposure needs to have some sort of conversion of substantive value, and we need all the help we can get. So just for example, to talk about the scale of difference with socially impactful organizations versus profitable ones. Oh, Human Rights Campaign. I looked at their Form 990, which is a tax form for nonprofits, and their total revenue is about 52, 53 million a year. And every year they have to dance for that money. So they have to spend so much money on marketing, so much money on impact reports, all this kind of thing. Whereas I believe Costco makes 1.3 billion of net profit per quarter, I believe, if not per year. So let's say just say 1.3 billion a year. That is a scale of difference that is so large, and so much can be done with $1.3 billion versus 52, 53 million. So that's at least partly that's why we colored, our perspective of trying to run a profitable organization, because I believe in the generative power of that and the compounding effect of it to create social change. But yeah, so that's the scale of difference. Costco doesn't need help. They have 1.3 billion of net profits, let's say, per year. Whereas Human Rights Campaign needs help. They have only 52, 53 million of revenue per year they have to dance for. So that's the scale of difference. And Human Rights Campaign has done a huge things for people, but their budget is not very large. And so that's, we live in a system that is almost adversarial to social change, because the incentives are not aligned with social change. And the same thing with politics too. People who want to change the world, the benefits that they'll bring about are distributed among hundreds of millions of people. And people who are in it for themselves or in it for a certain interest group, the benefits are concentrated to very powerful few people. So it makes sense for those powerful people to invest into change that would benefit them directly. There's not really necessarily a alternative to that currently, because the benefits would be distributed among hundreds of millions of people. And that's why politics is as it is, and why bills are passed that serve the select few. So action item, join Trans Rally as a sponsor member if you believe in our mission and you believe in me as a leader. Or if you don't, that's fine. I'm 27 years old. I'm not saying I know everything or I even know most things. But if there's an organization, Ensure Equality, or if there's an organization locally that you think you can contribute to, please join, and please, do what you can, because every person has their own skills and they're a unique person. And so you need to be able to do that, because that's what we need.
Devin, you're so awesome. I'm so grateful that you took the time to be here with all of us today and to share your story, your journey, thoughts you've had, things that are coming up for you. Just super grateful for your advocacy and your support. As Devin mentioned, there's ways to get a hold of them. Do you want to share your email and phone number one more time?
Yeah, absolutely. And I apologize too. I got a lot of work to do as well, so I was not able to put together a presentation for this. That's the work I have to do. So
No
you're allowed to listen to me talking to you for 30 minutes. But Devin, Devin at transrally, TRANSRALLY.org. And the business phone number is 253-693-0000. And even if you did want to join as a free member as well, we do send out a monthly newsletter letting people know what we've done the last month, what we've achieved, and our plans for the future too. So if you wanted to stay connected, please feel free to join. Like I said, it's free to join. But also we need all help we can get too. There's only so much that one person can do.
It's so true, but coming together, creating community, exactly like you're doing, that's going to make the change. And I know you're active on LinkedIn as well. So if you find Devin on LinkedIn, please connect with them too. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining today. Trans rights are humans' rights. Happy Pride, everybody, and have a great rest of your day.
Happy Pride. Thank you.